Welcome to Make Up Your Life with me, Devon, as your host. Today we have another amazing guest on our show, Victoria Stiles.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome, Victoria. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
I can't wait for our listeners to hear about your journey and just some pivotal points in your life that really were life-changing and career-changing. So just to give a brief introduction and a very lengthy resume, I'll just kind of break it down. You have been featured since 2012, in the Washingtonian,
Washingtonian, yes. Washingtonian Magazine
okay.
here in Washington, D.C.
Yes, Okay, I'm just not gonna say it because it's a tongue twister for me. But anyways, what is that magazine about?
So it is a magazine local here to the D.C. market, but it features a lot of local businesses, local stories. It highlights vendors across the board for weddings and events. And for Washingtonian Magazine, I've received the Best Wedding Vendor Award since 2012 for makeup.
Nice. So. Okay. So now we know what that is. You developed your own technique in applying cosmetics and began a career path as a makeup artist post-graduation. What does that mean, your own technique?
I found that a lot of styles other artists were doing was very heavy and very contoured and just very like almost a not character makeup, but very dramatic use of makeup. And what I like to do is I really like to enhance someone's natural beauty. So I like to do very soft makeup, concentrating on the skin, really highlighting someone's natural beauty. So that's what I like to do with makeup.
Got ya. Okay, so while attending college at George Mason University in Virginia, you secured a position with Esteé Lauder Company and did event and stage makeup.
Yep.
You also provided makeup services for concert productions, including people like Cher and Missy Elliott. You started your own business providing on-location makeup and services for events in particular. Worked with publications such as Glamour, Vogue, Bambini, Surface, Oprah Magazine, Capital File, JCK Luxury, Virginia Living, and the Washingtonian.
Yes.
You worked with Verve music groups, Gardot,
yes. She's a jazz musician. She's based in Paris, and I worked with her for her album cover in Paris.
Nice.
Yeah, that was an amazing trip.
I would imagine. I have not been there. Worked at New York Fashion Week, providing makeup for designers. Chosen as a presenter for the Powder Group, lead hair and makeup artist for International Broadcast Network, EWTN Beauty Guide at Limelife. You own Victoria Stiles Hair and Makeup LLC, and you provide makeup for celebrities, red carpet events, political figures, which I was going to, talk about next, how you're often working with political figures.
Yes.
And you worked with Pence and Biden and Eric Trump. And I love the little line you shared earlier about keeping politics out of powder.
Yes,
right?
Yes, keeping politics out of powder, because I work on both sides of the aisle. I actually have worked also with Bernie Sanders. I did his makeup for the cover of Time magazine, and I worked with Elizabeth Warren for her shoot with Annie Leibovitz for Vogue back in August of 2019.
So you kind of are you sought out? Are you a sought after artist in particular for these high profile political figures?
I would say I'm definitely one of the go-tos.
Yeah, it seems that way. I mean, you got some pretty heavy hitters on your list.
Yeah. I really enjoy it, and it's all about just, keeping it professional and also having a sanitary kit.
Yes. That's probably a lot of the reason they bring you back.
Yes.
So let's start with bringing you way back to when you first discovered your love or your interest for makeup.
Yes. I think I mentioned this in our Instagram, our IGTV story. What was that, last month? How it was my friend's, my neighbor who was babysitting me, and she had this old makeup palette from like some random company like Merle Norman or something. And it was that palette that was just so inspiring me at 5 years old. I was obsessed from that moment.
Yeah. And so what do you think the obsession was? It was the color? It was the application? I'm just
I
curious.
immediately recognized at 5 years old the magical powers that makeup can have.
Ah,
It can make you
I
feel
see.
pretty. It can kind of put an extra, bump in your step, and it can just lift your mood. You can, you know, highlight and create things on your face to just enhance your beauty. Like I recognize that at 5 years old, how you can just transform a look with this palette.
Well, that's amazing. I don't know that I had that intuition at 5 years old. So tell me, what was your journey from there? Did you go to makeup school? Did you, where did you go from five,
From
I
five.
guess,
Okay, so
to
from 5 years old, I know. Well, obviously, makeup was always a passion. And so every time I go to the store and my dad was always the one that spoiled me. My mother was a little bit more conservative with that. But I would go to the grocery store with my dad. And I remember 13 years old grabbing anything I could, Wet and Wild, eyeliners, Wet and Wild eyeshadows, and just being like, "Daddy, please." And anyways, so that was 13 with the Wet and Wild. But it was later on, actually, in my teens that I was started to do makeup on my friends, and it was my best friend's mother when I was about, I guess, 16, 17 years old, who said I was doing my friend's makeup for prom, and her mother said, "You have a great talent. You should really pursue a career in makeup artistry." And I'm like, "Really?" Like, I didn't even know that that was even a thing. And then I started picking up magazines, YM magazine back in the day, 17, those types of magazines. And then I noticed there's people actually credited for doing the makeup. So I'm like, well, this must be a job. People are credited for this. And this is before the internet. Like, this is before like people were online and like posting, this makeup, that makeup, or I'm doing this work or that work. Like, you just really had to really research and see like what was happening. Like, there wasn't, like, the information wasn't readily available.
right.
And I remember seeing a name, Tom Pichu, and I'm like, wow, he's amazing. This makeup artist is incredible. And when the Esteé Lauder Company I started working with and during college was MAC Cosmetics. And I then started doing a lot of work through MAC Cosmetics, doing the Missy Elliott show and that type of thing, the Cher show. We did backup dancers for them. And then after MAC and I started freelancing, I still kept in touch with MAC. And I got on their list to be one of their makeup artists for Fashion Week. And I, with my own money, would go back and forth to New York. And I called it an investment in my craft. And I did get a little bit of a, compensation for the show, but it, oftentimes didn't really cover the travel expenses. But at that point, I was like, I'm investing in my work. And I got to work under Tom Pichu on his team. And that was really a dream come true. So, I'm sorry. I feel like I've gone off on this tangent, but
No, this is, I mean, this is what we love to know. That's the whole point of our show, is to really reveal the journey. And this is so important on how you got there. So no, keep going.
So you have to really be choosy about what you take for a lower price or for pro bono, that type of thing. But that
100%.
that's the kind of stuff that you really need to do in the beginning. And oftentimes artists overlook that, or they say, well, I can't do this or I can't do that. If you can afford to take the gig and it's something that's going to be notable on your resume, I highly encourage to do that.
Yeah.
I know it really is a bummer. And
well, let me ask you this. How would you, because we say this to our students all the time, there's going to be things that you have to do for free, a pro bono, complimentary, whatever word you want to use, you're not getting paid.
Right.
And so what advice would you give as far as deciphering what is beneficial? Because I was in that position. I had years ago, there's a magazine called Our Magazine that's local, and there was this whole shoot they wanted me to do pro bono, and I would get credit, but it was like a bathing suit spread. You were not going to see the faces at all. And then I had heard that, they don't really pay. They're looking for just exchange,
Right.
in publication. So I felt like, you know what, at this point in my career, this is just not for me. And I also did bridal, so it wasn't going to enhance I wasn't looking to do print. So what advice would you give as far as having a checklist on maybe, what is deserving of your time and worth giving?
Right.
Versus things you have to just cut out because they're not going to be beneficial.
I would definitely, so in terms of what are you going to get out of this? What's the product? So obviously you're not going to do a free bathing suit shoot where they're cutting the heads off, okay? Because you can't use that in your portfolio.
Right.
You want portfolio usable images to come from your free work or something of substance to add to your resume. So for instance, with the New York Fashion Week where I was just going from show to show, I was getting paid. It was like maybe, I don't even remember, but it wasn't that much. But I had to pay my expenses to go back and forth between DC and New York, and the train ride isn't cheap. I really don't like the bus. So I would always take the train, and the train isn't that cheap. So I wasn't necessarily getting images. I would try to pull images off of like Getty and stuff, to like runway images. But generally, I didn't use runway images on my website because they weren't always like the greatest. So what I would use was the stamp of working under this person for this fashion show, and to have that name on my resume and to have like this designer on my resume, was really good. I have definitely done free editorials in the past. We have a magazine called Virginia Living, and that was actually my first editorial, but it was this beautiful, big, glossy magazine. Beautiful images. The photographer was amazing. It was a 2-day fashion shoot. And I remember it being one of my first editorials, and I was just like, everyone in the community, the makeup artist community here in DC, they were like, that is awesome. You have this like fashion editorial. It was just like the bee's knees back in like 2010. So,
yeah.
But like that was worth my time, my energy, my makeup, my products, everything, because I got an entire spread out of it. And it was great. So when you have photographers, when you're first starting out, you'll have a lot of photographers ask you, oh, will you do this for free or do that for free or whatever. Even if the photographer isn't published, I still would like look at their work. Like, are these going to be images that I would be proud to show on my website? Is this going to be a good product for me? I would always try to find photographers that were already published, that were looking for free makeup artists for like a test shoot or whatnot. But yeah, when you're first starting off, it is hard because you will get a lot of people asking you to do things for free, and you do have to be very picky. And don't feel bad about being picky. This is your time and your products and everything. So you want to make sure it's a good investment.
So when did you finally arrive at, wow, I can make a full-time living at this? Because we all know in the beginning you're kind of juggling. Some people are in food service, some people are strictly in makeup, but doing anything that, cleaning cosmetics to assisting to, picking up your own gigs. So when did you finally know, okay, I can make a decent or a good living and not have to, float for other
when
jobs?
I started turning down consistently full day rate commercial bookings for $600 a day because I had another job where I was making $15 an hour.
Yeah.
That's when I found that that I could do a full-time out of this.
Yes. Right.
And when I say commercial, I say like, I live in the DC area, so there's a lot of like video productions for companies, government contractors, that type of thing. And they were paying full day rates of like $600 a day. And I was consistently turning it down for like a $15 an hour job.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. So that's when I left full time. I left employment in 2007 and went completely freelance. And then it was just a couple of years ago, a little over 3 years ago, I went back, not back, but like I took the head makeup artist position for a news network here, and I absolutely love it. So I am now employed. I'm not freelance anymore. I do still do some freelance, but I am with a television station now.
Nice. And well, that might give you peace of mind knowing that you have
Well, now I'm older,
paycheck.
so let's just, I can tell my age. I'm now, so when I started, I was just freshly 21 when I started freelancing. Really freelancing. I'm now 42. So I have done all the freelance. I've done that whole thing. And so now I'm in this position where now I'm, the head of this, the makeup room. And, it's good in my age bracket to then have that, so.
Yeah. So what were a few pivotal moments during your journey that changed your life and your career? Anything that really stands out where it changed the course of your journey?
Really, it was when I started working with political figures. I think one of my first times one of my first bookings with politics was for Time magazine, and it was back in when we were the first time Obama was up for election, and I was doing a lot of different senators then for Time and everything. And then I got a booking for during the Obama inauguration. I worked with Deborah Norville for Inside Edition. We were on the rooftop of the Capitol, and that was probably one of my biggest bookings to date at that time.
And biggest meaning like money or just influence?
Money, influence. Yeah. I mean, like to be working the inauguration here in DC was a big deal.
Yeah. Well, it's a big deal, even if
right.
you're not in DC,
yes.
Right? Pretty big event.
Right. So yes. So that was definitely like a turning point there. And was really when I started working with more political figures. And then I met Elizabeth Warren years ago. I actually was hired to do her makeup for Time magazine, and she ended up really enjoying the way I did her makeup. She doesn't like a lot of makeup. She likes her skin. She just likes to just look like her. And so then she requested me for her Glamour shoot, and then requested me for her Vogue shoot. So it was pretty awesome.
That is awesome. Tell me how you felt with your first political figure. Were you super nervous? Was it like any other client? How did you feel?
I really didn't feel super nervous. I'll tell you, the first time, one of my first, high profile people that I worked for was Roberta Flack. And I want to say that was back in like 2008. And I was so nervous. I was my first like real high profile. She's a singer, she's the original, killing me softly. I can't sing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that I remember shaking. That wasn't good. But no, with the politicals, I'm not nervous. And yeah, I mean, everybody's just been really nice. I've never had like a bad experience or anything like that.
So I would imagine, is the Secret Service involved in that, or do they like have you do all these kind of background? What do they do to prepare you in order to work with a high?
Yeah, you have to go through a background check. Especially now, like I do work for a television station, and we have a tent that's actually on the White House grounds. And it's for like, you'll see oftentimes like when you watch CNN or MSNBC or whatnot, they'll shoot over to their White House correspondent and you'll see the White House in the background. That's a real shot. They're really on the White House grounds. So every time I enter the White House grounds, I have to, if I'm scheduled, they put me through a background check, and then, yeah, they have to search everything. When I worked with Mike Pompeo, I had to pull my car into the garage, and they brought out the bomb dogs to sniff and then like the big mirror that goes underneath the car, like to see if there's anything around your car. Yeah. So I always make sure my car's cleaned out and I don't have like a bunch of stuff everywhere.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, I obviously they have to do that
Yes,
in order to maintain security.
absolutely.
But it's funny to, think about like, okay, here's a makeup artist going in to do her job for the day. And, she's going to get frisked and her car's going to get, you know, checked out. And it's just crazy to hear.
Yes.
Um, so, so tell me, who were your biggest influencers or mentors? Maybe somebody that really helped you along in your career or guided you in the right way or gave you a really amazing
I would
opportunity.
say a woman named Suzanne Patterson. She is she was a makeup artist for decades, decades before I started becoming a makeup artist. She runs Paint and Powder Cosmetics, and the company is based here in DC, but she supplies makeup to television productions, stuff out in LA. She's an Emmy award-winning makeup artist herself. Um, she was really instrumental in helping me build my kit initially and give me advice and career direction.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And are you still in touch with her till this
Unfortunately,
day
I
or?
haven't been in touch with her recently. She has, as far as I know, she's still the store's still really busy. She does online sales through the paintandpowdercosmetics.com. So, and then I know she was doing classes and everything, but now with COVID, I'm sure she doesn't do that right now. But she would host big makeup tutorial classes, airbrush classes. She does a lot of special effects. She's very talented. Yeah.
Nice. And so when did you
I
meet
met
her?
her. I can't even remember like how I even came across Suzanne. Um, I want to say I met her probably back in like 2005 when around the time I left Mac to become a freelance. Um, she didn't live far from me, and it might have been something where I reached out to her. Um, Her website would always come up first. Like if you Googled like makeup artist DC, like her website would always come up. She might have reached out to me to fill in some things because she would always get a lot of like government type stuff. She actually booked me early on for Newt Gingrich. She had like a commercial shoot for Newt Gingrich that she was supposed to do, and she booked me instead. So yeah, I mean, so I was yeah, I was acquainted with her for several years, and I just realized I really needed to circle back with her because I haven't talked to her real recently. But yeah, she was really instrumental.
How did you how did you end up in
Well, I'm
DC?
actually born and raised in Fairfax, and I just actually never ended up leaving.
Yeah.
So I was Fairfax,
Fairfax,
Virginia,
Virginia.
yeah, and I was living in Virginia up
Hmm.
until 3 years ago, and then I moved into the district. So I actually live not far from President Trump.
And was that a good move
I
for you?
love
I mean,
it.
are you happy
I love
happy
living
in
in
that
the
area?
city. It's great. And most of my work was just here. So I don't know if you're familiar with Washington, D.C. traffic. It's probably not as bad as New York or LA, but it's pretty bad. But getting over the bridges from Virginia to D.C., especially when you're in a rush, is a little hectic. So doing that day after day
Yeah,
was really wearing on me. So I said, you know what? I'm making the move, moving into the city, and that's what I did, and I love it.
that's awesome. Yeah. I wondered, how you ended up. I didn't realize even, talking with you now, how much work there is in DC. I don't know what, we always concentrate on LA, New York, Atlanta, and we never talk about DC. So I'm so excited to expose that the DC
It's just a
area
different
has
kind of work. I
work.
mean, you're doing it's mostly male grooming, very light makeup, makeup for videos, that kind of thing. And we did have a lot of events here before COVID. We have visiting celebrities. We've, we've had, I did Jenna Elfman, she was doing something here. Patricia Arquette, she was doing something here. So people do come here for things like big celebrities.
Yeah, it's really awesome. So everybody defines has a different definition of success. Some it's monetary, some it's a client list, a portfolio, a resume. When do you feel you reached success?
When I just didn't even realize it was payday, or when a check came in the mail and I was like, oh, great. Okay, cool, a check. Like when all my bills are on auto pay and I didn't have to think about it.
Yeah. So finally reaching a level that was
Right.
beyond
Yeah, just
comfort
being
or
right, and not just being like, okay,
survival.
like hounding people for like, how when you're a freelance and then you're just like, a month goes by, you're like, hey, we're 30 days out. Where's my check? You know?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's awesome. What do you think the future holds for you? Because you've done some pretty big names. I think, in terms of what you've shared with us, you accomplished a lot of what you had hoped, which is having, a consistent paycheck and having consistent work. And so what does the future hold?
So
What does that look
right
like?
now, so at my age right now, 42, I'm really looking to wrap things up within the next 10 years, like 10 to 15 years.
Hmm.
So, future and right now, I am enjoying working with the station. I plan to stay with the station for a while. And I would like to possibly do some type of partnership with a cosmetic company. A lot of people always ask me, why don't you make your own line? I'm like, there's so many lines. Like, it's
Yeah.
basically like the same thing, like it's just different texture, different, a little bit of different consistency or whatnot. But a lot of these,
I think it's
all
marketing,
marketing, a
don't
lot of
you?
these brands, they use the same
Yeah.
manufacturer. So
Yeah.
I'd really love to partner with a brand and just maybe do a promotional with them, that type of thing. I enjoy I enjoy a lot of different things. That is not just makeup. I love photography. I love fashion. I love the whole thing. So I started working a little bit on my Instagram, doing some stuff that were like fashiony oriented. I love photographing dresses and handbags and, perfumes and stuff like that. And I just find that to be like really fun. So I'd like,
I've been seeing your new posts and I always like them. I'm like, she looks
I have a lot
adorable.
of fun with it. And I think that that's at that point, I'm at that point right now where I'm done all the legwork. It's time for me to have fun. So
Yeah.
I'm having fun.
That can happen too, right? When you're so concentrated on just making a living, even if it's something you love doing, it's still, in this line of work, anyways, with such uncertainty, you can easily get
Yeah.
wrapped up into that. So, so
So yeah,
true.
I'd like to work with a cosmetic company. I really want to do maybe just some more stuff with like social media. Um, Kind of concentrate more on that. I really enjoy social media. I used to talk a lot about social media marketing with the Powder Group, prior to like all these things coming about. At the time, I think it was just Twitter and Facebook that were just like the big things. And I was
Yeah.
like one of the first people to get onto Twitter. And I don't know if you'll notice, but like on Twitter, I have like something like 20 something thousand followers. I'm like, and that was just from the beginning when I started tweeting, and I was doing a lot of stuff with Fashion Week, and everybody was on Twitter then. And I feel like now Twitter is more like media focused. Like they have a lot of like news, and news anchors are tweeting. It's more like newsy kind of stuff on Twitter. Instagram, I'm feeling, is more like makeup, fashion, beauty, fragrance, that kind of thing. And that's what I really like. So I'm just kind of playing around with Instagram right now, and kind of like hopefully can nail down something, a next project with that. So
Yeah. Um, what is a day? look like when you say you go to the station? What does that look like? What time do you start? What do you have to, I'm sure there's certain
With
things
COVID,
now
it's
with
been,
COVID, but
yeah, with
what would
COVID,
a
it's been a
typical,
little bit
yeah,
different. And I'm very thankful. I am very grateful for this station that has actually taken care of all of their people through this pandemic. And I, I feel like I made a really good choice a few years ago by taking on this position, because if I was just strictly freelance, it might have been a different picture for me, in terms of, my lifestyle or whatnot. Um, and
right.
so prior to COVID, I would go in like about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I would work either in the station or be sent over to Capitol Hill or the White House for different media hits. And then circle back to the station, and then we wrap around 5 o'clock, 5:30. So yeah, so
Okay.
not too crazy.
And so are you in charge of hiring
So it's a
everyone
smaller news
or?
station. We do utilize freelancers for various television hits, and I'm not the final approval for everybody, but I definitely like go through and like book, and then I have to like get everybody approved through like one of the higher ups. So yeah.
Got ya. It sounds very interesting. I never really thought of, I never have, I mean, in all my life, I don't know why I didn't think DC was a happening area
There, it
for
really is.
artists.
Yeah.
I think it's great. So to wrap up our amazing conversation, this is going to be so awesome for our listeners to just hear the variance and possibility. What piece of advice would you give to our listeners who are aspiring artists and trying to get their career off the ground? Because we know it's
Right.
so easy to give up, right? And when you're just pounding the pavement, and you're just nothing's breaking. What piece of
Know your
advice would you
market,
give to
know
them?
where you live. Um, so for instance, like if you're out in the Midwest, obviously politics wouldn't be your thing. Might be more events or weddings. New York might be more fashion type stuff. LA might be more TV, film. So the first thing to do is nail down your market, and also um, get trained in that type of makeup for your market. So let's say you're out in LA, you might want to take more special effects type classes. Come up with a business plan. Once you figure out what you're going to do, figure out your business plan in terms of, okay, so I'm going to be a TV makeup artist. Get trained for that.
Mm-hmm.
Put out the feelers to other
Yeah.
makeup artists who are in that field, who are more established. Offer your services to them. Offer your services to makeup artists, like I'll carry your bags or I'll clean your brushes or whatever, just to do like for a couple days, just to see how their flow is. Talk with them. That's actually how you'll start to
Yeah.
meet other people. Those makeup artists would then in turn probably start hiring you for different gigs, hiring you as an assistant, or giving off work that they can't take. Um,
Yeah.
and then from there, just consistency, keep focus, and never stop building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great advice. I love that. Well, thank you, Victoria, for your time. This was really, really so great and so inspirational. I can't wait to have you back on, see what you're up
Yeah,
to in a
see
few
where
more
I'm at.
years. And yeah, thank you again for your time. We're just so grateful. And this was another amazing podcast with our special guest,
Thanks so
Victoria
much for
Stiles.
having
Thank
me.
you, Victoria.
Bye.